If the joke is funny, I laugh, even if it's about me. If it's not funny, I don't laugh. But I've never felt like it was, anything that really bugged me all that much. No.
Now, what percentage of the jokes have you found funny?
About 40%.
Now, with common sense for the Commonwealth, here's John Fredericks.
Welcome back to the John Fredericks Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth. We're broadcasting from the nation's capital and blasting our way across Virginia. Hey, we're also in Baltimore, Maryland. Had to deal with the Ravens' victory Monday.
Are you driving up after the show to make it to the Ravens parade by 10:45?
No, I have no problem with the Ravens. I have no dog in that hunt. I bet San Francisco minus 3.5, so I took the pipe. So I have no real interest in go visiting the Ravens. I thought San Francisco played a horrible game. But it is what it is, and you pay the piper. That's why we can't quit our day jobs here on the John Fredericks Show.
You know who I have an interest in? You heard him in the montage clip there, the last clip. Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey appearing on Letterman last night when Letterman was telling a story about his weight. The good governor pulls out a donut and starts eating it. So that's a man who has a good sense of humor about himself. And he's one of those folks that people might not think of because he governs, of course, in a heavily Democratic state that may have been at the top of the ticket at one time. And we're all about talking about moderates. And how they must be rejected by the GOP, which was the featured article from the great folks at foramerica.org. And, John, we are pleased to welcome their executive director, David Bozell.
David, always a pleasure to have you on. This.
Thanks, John. By the way, John, I had San Francisco minus 3.5 too. So.
See? Well, you know what, David? Misery loves company. Okay, and you don't mind. There's a lot of games I get beaten. It's like, well, I just had that wrong. I mean, from the first play where they line up offside. I mean, how can you line up offsides in the first play?
A little bit of nerves.
It just goes, 20 yards, go down the tubes. They're driving for a touchdown. They turn it over. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So anyway, it is what it is. And,
it is.
But I'm glad that we have at least that in common, so we can commiserate in financial misery. Anyway,
I had the under too, so I got
you got blasted on two ends. All right, well, it's always good to have you on, David. Now, we just heard a clip from New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He's attempting to govern in a very blue state. I mean, you'd have to call him a moderate. Conservatives can't get elected in a state like New Jersey. We both know that. So, what do you say about a guy like Christie?
Well, Christie's a good guy. I mean, he's the one thing I in terms of his budget priorities, I love how he's been in pursuit of the zero-based budgeting, which is basically something I wish the federal government would adopt, frankly. Doing budgets the right way instead of this sort of CBO extended 10-year windows, the baseline budgeting model that the federal government has adopted since basically the early 70s, where you just can't, even if you freeze a program, it's sort of labeled as a cut by CBO, and then Republicans get demonized for trying to do anything, and it becomes very, very frustrating. So that's one part of his legislative agenda that I'm a huge, huge fan of. I hope he's able to enact it to the fullest tilt that he can. He obviously got in some hot water in Republican/conservative circles with the way he sort of embraced Obama right before the election.
The love fest.
Yeah, but I think he'll be fine. I mean, if he has presidential aspirations, which I think that he does, he'll be a force to be reckoned with in the field, and he's got probably the best personality out of any of the potential contenders. So he'll be, just on that alone, he'll be a force to be reckoned with. But I think his instincts are conservative. I don't know. I've never met him, but I think his instincts are conservative. And we'll see what happens on that front. But the American crossroads of the world, those guys are just really picking a fight against conservatives out there. They came out with this big spread in the New York Times the other day saying that we're going to go. I mean, imagine being a Republican operative, John, and waking up in the morning and say, you know what, I know what my life's pursuits are going to be. I'm going to go destroy Steve King of Iowa. I mean, Steve King hasn't hurt a fly. He's a good conservative from fiscal issues on social issues. He's out there on an island, and these guys have just decided that they're going to court this sort of Northeast liberal Republican wing, the Wall Street crowd, and go destroy good conservatives, and we're just not going to stand for it anymore.
Well, David, it's very easy to understand. And look, if you're American Crossroads or you're Karl Rove or any of these guys, okay, to them, it's all about the money, how much money they can raise, how much money they can get paid, how many shows they can be on, how much weight they can throw around, no pun intended for Carl. So it's all about that. And so if you look at their poster child for their agenda was Mitt Romney. He is the all-time poster child. You know, we said from the day this guy started to run for president in 2007 or 6 or whatever it was, I think it was 2006, I started saying this is the new version of the Republicans' 1940 Wenzel Wilkie. He's a businessman. He's got a resume. He solves stuff, and he can raise cash. He was their poster child. At the end of the day, I wasn't for him by the way I was for Newt. At the end of the day, Mitt Romney ideologically stood for nothing. The whole campaign was based on his resume and the fact that he could raise and spend $1 billion. Well, through that all, Mitt Romney got 1 million less votes than John McCain and outspent McCain almost 3.5 to 1. Right. So that's their poster child. Where are they going with it? This is my question.
Well, you know, they have a big spread in the New York Times, I think it was on Sunday, announcing their plan to sort of purge conservatives from primary ranks, and they're going to throw a bunch of money at Democrat outfits so they can go destroy conservatives. They're going to run a bunch of TV ads. 2 points. One, you know, talk radio is dominated by conservative libertarian hosts. You know, we own this medium. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of good conservative websites out there that are doing conservative journalism, Republican-leaning journalism. They chose to give that exclusive to the New York Times. Think about that. Is just a shameless courting of New York liberals with an R next to their name, trying to sort of, you know, come up with an excuse for existence in this world. The second thing, their tactics. They don't really go into a lot of the details in terms of the meat and potatoes part of their plan, but there's one thing that they mention pretty significantly. They're going to spend a bunch of money on television ads. Where have we heard that before? How many hundreds of millions of dollars did American Crossroads and Crossroads GPS waste on television ads in 2012? I mean, I can't. The number is incalculable. My children, they're 3 and 5. They don't even understand the concept of a commercial anymore. Everyone DVRs, fast forwards, and everything's streaming. It is a colossal waste of money, and for that reason,
David,
alone,
you're trying to take this logically. Look, Karl Rove and his organization gets 15% every time they put an ad up on TV.
Sure.
All right, they're getting 15% of it. He just got a new yacht. I would have to ask this question. Okay, as he re-ups these donors who have spent billions of dollars in this organization and got no results, how long do you keep investing in something, pouring your money down the drain and get no results? Eventually, you just start to say, well, I'm going to stop this because I'm pouring in cash and I'm getting zero. I'm getting a negative return.
Yeah,
I mean,
you got to think that these big donors are good businessmen and women, and they'll figure it out eventually. And it just drives me nuts when these guys, when the Roves and the Stephen Laws of the world come out and say they're going to purge good people like Steve King. You know, look, I understand the Todd Aiken charge. You know, every party has a couple bad apples in the tree. The Democrats have plenty of them. How about investing some millions of dollars in getting rid of those guys, getting rid of the Democrats, the big liberals in Congress, instead of just turning your guns on the conservative movement, who the only reason you're in power is because of the conservative movement. The only reason Republicans have a majority in the House is because the conservative Tea Party caucuses, Tea Party movements across the country came out and drove it. It's the only reason.
That's why, David, this is so infuriating. And I tell you, I'm going to go to Steve here in a second, but if you look at what Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal said, I mean, he nailed it. He did about moderates and conservatives. He said we have to stop nominating stupid candidates who say dumb things. Right. I mean, Todd Aiken said dumb things. The guy in Indiana, Murdoch, said stupid things. I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with conservative or moderate. It's just dumb things.
Right. And these guys are just trying to, they're looking at the post-mortem election. Like, Obama understood that social media provides, and this is what we do on For America, Facebook.com/For America. But Obama understood that social media is the only communications medium in the world that provides this peer-to-peer endorsement model. In other words, who do you trust instinctively in life? You trust your friends. So if you get a good message that you like, conservative, liberal, indifferent, you share that with your friends, and your friends, and studies will prove this, are more apt to believe it because they came from you. Obama understood this through and through. The Crossroads operation, and again, maybe I'm approaching this from too logically, but it is just a colossal waste of money to just do a bunch of television ads that nobody's going to watch. And I really implore the business community up in New York to ignore this this fight that the American Crossroads people are picking, because it is just an attempt to just stay relevant. It really is.
Common Sense News Time is 8:52 here on the John Frederick Show. Steve Ray, the editorial director, along with the executive director of ForAmerica.org, David Bozell. Great article posted just yesterday. Moderates with their disastrous record must be rejected by the GOP. And David, I would say first off, not to opine on this, but why don't you just hand the money over to MoveOn.org if you're going to do that?
Right.
And the other thing is, and it was pointed up by our friend Sean Kenny at BearingDrift.com at the Republican Party of Virginia meetings in Virginia Beach about a month ago, that one of the ways that we can move forward is to stop taking a step back technologically every time the Democrats take a step forward, especially when it comes to social media. So I would ask you, how do we advance the cause and the names of people like Pat Toomey and Marco Rubio and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and so forth towards the top of the ticket?
Well, Ted Cruz has a phenomenal social media operation.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of one of the reasons why he won, to be honest with you. What you're really trying to do, you want to advance these guys' candidacies as much as you can through social media. It is not a popularity contest in terms of how many fans that you have and those types of things. That's important, but it's not the end game. You want to keep your activists engaged. To be, it's what we do at For America. We put compelling content it's funny, it's relatable to pop culture, and we don't do anything without asking people to like it or share it or comment on it. There's no point for existing in this space, in this communication space, without doing those three things, because you want that conservative message churning through social media waters.
Now, David, even though we have great websites across the spectrum, I mean, everything from Town Hall to RedState.com, the Washington Times, both of those are two of our content partners. You've got a lot of great websites like yours out there every day. Even with all of that, is there a problem with political burnout when you try to expand this to a 24/7, 365 political news cycle in order to keep up with what the Democrats are doing on the same schedule? No,
I don't think so. I mean, we make it a point For America to only post once or twice a day because of that reason. The way Facebook works is every time you post something, it sort of kind of deletes the one before it if you look in your news feed and that kind of thing. So unlike an email, it's not like something that builds upon itself. It just sort of extinguishes the one before it. I mean, Mitt Romney, you're going to get me on my soapbox here, but Mitt Romney
fire it up. Come on, David, let's hear it.
Mitt Romney posted 177 times in the Commonwealth of Virginia alone, compared to Obama's 33. in the month of October, right before the election. Of those 177 posts, and he had millions of fans, by the way, Romney did. He invested in fan acquisition. Of those 177 posts, he asked for money 33 times, including his only post courting the female vote. Basically asked for $15 from every contributor to save sisterhood. It was just a blatant money grab on the part of the Romney operation. And if you talk to big donors, they were all being told in the month of October that they were fine, that there was enough money to go around. They had enough money to go out and do what the campaign needed to do. They were selling ski beanies. I mean, I want to go to Wintergreen and see the Romney Ryan ski beanie. They were selling Kid Rock signed guitars in late October.
Oh, boy.
Less than 20 days before the election, they were selling they were selling. Have you ever heard of a limited edition bumper sticker?
No, because I'm still seeing Obama 08s out there, so there's no such thing as a limited edition bumper sticker.
Yes,
David.
well, for the Romney operation, there is silver laminated.
Wow.
I am not making this up. Silver laminated, individually numbered, personally signed by Mitt Romney bumper stickers for a contribution of $45. They made a pitch for that request twice in October.
Unbelievable.
$45. I mean, so to John's earlier point about still trying to figure out what Mitt Romney stood for, all his social media operation did was sort of add to the narrative that really he was just all he cared about was money.
Yeah, well, and that's the bottom line. That's all he did. And look, I got about a half a minute. I'm going to go back to this Karl Rove thing. Here's a guy that when he was in command of the George Bush II effort, here's a guy that convinced the president to pass a tariff on steel in West Virginia to get the West Virginia vote. Here's a guy that convinced the president to pass an unfunded prescription entitlement in Florida that we couldn't pay for so he could win Florida in 2004. These guys stand for nothing but themselves, and they're trying to tell us what to do? You got to be kidding me, David.
There you go.
Don't
David Bozell, we are out of time. I'm sorry to cut you off, buddy, but we want to have you back as always. Executive Director David Bozell from foramerica.org. A great article called Moderates with their disastrous record must be rejected by the GOP. David, thanks for the time.
Thanks, guys. Take
All
care.
right. Coming up tomorrow on the John Frederick Show, more good stuff. I'm not going to tell you about it. You're just going to have to go to the Facebook page, hit like, and find out who's on right there. Back at 6 a.m. bright and surly here on the John Frederick Show. Have yourself a great Tuesday.